The Supreme Court has agreed to review the ban on Palestine Action. Yes, the same Palestine Action whose activists broke into RAF Bryce Norton and damaged 2 military aircraft. But before everybody loses their minds, this does not mean that the ban has been lifted. Palestine Action remains a prescribed terrorist organisation. Supporting it will still get you arrested. What has happened is that the Supreme Court has allowed the group's co-founder, Huda Amori, to challenge whether banning the entire organisation was both lawful and proportionate. So, who are Palestine Action? Well, the group was founded back in 2020 and describes itself as a direct action movement. Its main target has been Elbit Systems, which is an Israeli defence company with operations in Britain. Now, its activists have occupied buildings, blockaded factories, smashed equipment and covered property in red paint. They claim that these actions are intended to disrupt Britain's involvement in supplying weapons connected to Israel. But this went well beyond somebody holding a placard outside Parliament back in June 2025. That's when activists entered RAF Bryce Norton and sprayed red paint into the engines of 2 military aircraft. That is when the government then prescribed Palestine Action under terrorism legislation. Now, that decision does matter because terrorism under British law does not only mean bombs or attacks on civilians. The legal definition can include serious damage to property when it is intended to influence the government and advance a political or ideological cause. Now, Palestine Action argues that calling the entire organisation terrorist is excessive and that the ban criminalises political expression and peaceful protest. But the government argues that this was not merely peaceful protest. It says that the group repeatedly used organised criminal damage and increasingly dangerous tactics to achieve political objectives. The courts have already disagreed over it. The High Court initially ruled that the ban was unlawful and disproportionate, but the Court of Appeal overturned that decision and ruled that the Home Secretary had acted lawfully. Now, the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United Kingdom, they're going to have the final domestic word. And the consequences stretch far beyond Palestine Action itself, because thousands of people have reportedly been arrested since the ban, many for publicly displaying support for the organisation. Numerous criminal cases are now effectively waiting for the Supreme Court to decide whether the ban underneath them was lawful. And this is where the argument it feels uncomfortable, because people absolutely have the right to oppose Israel, criticise Britain foreign policy and protest in support of Palestinians. But breaking into a British military base and damaging RAF aircraft is not peaceful process. It's deliberate political sabotage. The Supreme Court is entitled to examine whether the government used the law correctly. That is how the British justice system works. But if organised groups can repeatedly damage factories, intimidate businesses and sabotage military equipment, then escape prescription simply by calling it protest, where exactly is the line? Because once political violence and destruction become acceptable for one cause, every single extremist movement will insist that its cause deserves the same exemption.